Welcome back to NYSE TV Live. Earlier this week, the Senate voted in favor of advancing the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins, or the Genius Act, that could ultimately set up a regulatory framework for stablecoins. It's just the latest headline involving stablecoins. Last week, stablecoin issuer Circle, the company behind the USDC token, started trading here on the stock exchange, soared 168% in its opening session alone, and it was the topic of conversation when I was in Amsterdam at Money 2022. And joining me now with more is Matt Hougan. He's the Chief Investment Officer at Bitwise Asset Management. Matt, good to see you this morning, joining us from San Francisco. And what can you tell us about stable coins and what this Circle debut means for the space?
Sure, absolutely. It's wonderful to be here, Kristen. Stablecoins are crypto's second killer app. Bitcoin has emerged as a great way to store wealth, and stablecoins are emerging as a new way for people to spend wealth. I think what you're seeing in Congress is bipartisan support to get stablecoin legislation. I think once we have that, we're going to have every major Wall Street financial institution come into this space. We're going to see stablecoins roll out as payments across the US. In fact, we already saw that just yesterday with Shopify and Stripe integrating payments into their system. I think Circle's debut is ringing the bell that this is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry. I think this is as an investment category that has legs for multiple years. I think you're going to see this be a huge source of innovation in the financial space.
It's interesting, Matt. So how does stablecoins, I should say, fit into a broader crypto portfolio? How holistically should we be looking at this?
Well, I think it's a really important point because, traditionally crypto investors would buy crypto assets. They would buy Bitcoin, they would buy Ethereum, they would buy Solana. And that's still at the heart of how many people invest. But the thing about stablecoins is they are applications built on top of crypto rails. So Circle stablecoin USDC trades across the innovative financial rails that Ethereum provides. But if you want to benefit from the growth in that, you need to buy Circle stock. You need to gain exposure through the equity space. I think the lesson for crypto investors is just holding crypto assets is not enough. You have to pair crypto assets with these leading crypto equities that are using these crypto rails to reinvent financial services. So it is a new era. You need both in your portfolio.
I want to ask you more about that, Matt. So I do see that Bitwise, the company that you work for, introduced the Bitwise GME Option Income Strategy ETF, IGME. I do believe there is a tie to GameStop here. What more can you share?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is a strategy that writes covered calls against GameStop. GameStop, of course, has become a Bitcoin treasury company. They're raising money and acquiring huge amounts of Bitcoin. That tends to lead to a stock that is, upwardly moving and also volatile. One thing you can do with that is write covered calls to generate very high income stream for investors. So a lot of investors looking for income are turning to products like IGME. There's a similar product on MicroStrategy, IMST. This is part of how crypto is changing the nature of markets. You're introducing these new tools that help investors gain exposure to these fast growing things. Sometimes it's owning Circle stock or a crypto equity stock like our BITQ ETF. Sometimes it's buying something like IGME to generate high income and put more income into your portfolio.
It's fascinating, Matt, to follow. I do want to ask you, though, about the risks. Obviously, for our viewers watching, what do they need to know when looking at this in the big picture?
Yeah, sure. Crypto is volatile. It's new. It continues to be volatile. Even what we started this interview talking about what's going on in DC, you don't know exactly what will happen in DC. You don't know if they will, in fact, pass these rules and regulations. What that means from sizing your portfolio or how to manage it is you have to, only allocate a certain amount of your portfolio to crypto. We see people often doing 3 or 5%. But I think the important thing, Kristen, is you can't be at zero, right? Mm-hmm. This is now moving mainstream. This is now moving into the center of how finance works. We're only, maybe a year or two away from talking about tokenized stocks and tokenized bonds. You can't have your eyes closed. So not 100% of your portfolio, but equally not zero. I think that's the message for investors.
It is interesting. Lessons learned from previous events that have happened in the market, even perhaps internet investing back in 2004, Matt. What can you share?
Yeah, I think that's right. Well, if you go back to internet investing, there are two lessons, right? First, there was a big bubble and then a burst, but the internet didn't go away. And people who stuck with the high quality investments in that space, like Amazon, did extremely well. The other lesson from 2004 is, if you were an investor interested in the internet at that time, you might have bought the largest company in the largest market, which was Google and search, and you would have done well. You'd be up about 7,000% since then. But the internet does more than just search. You could buy Amazon for retail. You could buy Salesforce for commerce. You could buy Netflix for video. Netflix is up 100,000%. What that means for crypto, to me, is many investors have exposure to Bitcoin today, but blockchain can do more than just provide digital gold. We're seeing that with stable coins. We'll see a dozen other implementations roll out. So I think a savvy crypto investor would have a diversified exposure. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, maybe an index-based product, an equity-based product. This is a whole new sector of the market. You can't just have one exposure and call it good. You need to diversify to capture everything that blockchains can do to reinvent how finance works.
Matt, always good to get your take and expertise in this space. That's Matt Hougan. He's the Chief Investment Officer at Bitwise Asset Management, joining us from San Francisco this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again.